People always say, choose a lane, pick a lane, do one thing. And I call on that. Like, I just think I would go mad if I had to pick a lane and do one thing. And in my mind, I do think they're all the same. I think I'm ultimately problem solving. So that's what kind of lights me up. I see a problem and I'm like, oh, I think I can find a solution for that. And it might be technology, or it might be a group of people, or it might be, a post-it note. It doesn't always have to be high tech. It's just like, I want to try and fix things because that is kind of cool.
This episode is brought to you by True Tone Media. If talking about your business on camera feels awkward, unnatural, or cringe, that's exactly why I created True Tone Media. I help business owners create natural, trust-building video content through relaxed conversations, not forced performances. If you want to find out more, head to the link in the show notes and check my availability for a chat. Okay, back to the show. Welcome to the Bishop Stortford Community Podcast, the show where we shine a light on the incredible businesses, community leaders, and local legends shaping our town. I'm your host, James O'Donnell, and today we are joined by Julie Creffield. Julie, great to have you on the show.
I am super excited.
Fantastic. For those of us who don't know yet, Julie, who are you and what do you do here in Bishop Stortford?
So I am I'm a business strategist, I guess is what I would kind of deem myself. I work as an innovation director, so I have a proper job, but also work as a consultant and keynote speaker and writer. Typical ADHDer, can't pick one thing, fingers in lots of pies. But yeah, a little bit of everything. I've been in business for 30 odd years and just seem to collect ideas and people as I go.
You seem very busy. We spoke just before coming online about the amount of things that you're up to at the moment. Innovation director. For those of us who don't know what that means, can you explain it in real simple terms for me?
Yeah, so I work for the UK's largest provider of innovation spaces. So in Broxbourne, that's kind of my office space. And we look after about 80 companies. Some of them are kind of really in the tech space or kind of quite high level manufacturing, startups. Others are, traditional businesses. And in effect, I do all of the in-house business coaching and make sure they're on top of things like AI and anything that's kind of coming down the pipeline that they may not be kind of aware of.
Okay. But as well as that, you do loads of other things, as you said, ADHD. But the thing that I've noticed with looking at the work that you're doing, Julie, is that, I've started loads of projects. Trust me. I could talk to you for about an hour about all the different projects that I've started, but all yours seem to be working and shining and turning over things online. It looks fascinating.
Do you know, it's interesting. People always say, choose a lane, pick a lane, do one thing. And I call on that. Like, I just think I would go mad if I had to pick a lane and do one thing. And in my mind, I do think they're all the same. I think I'm ultimately problem solving. So that's what kind of lights me up. I see a problem and I'm like, oh, I think I can find a solution for that. And it might be technology, or it might be a group of people, or it might be, a post-it note. It doesn't always have to be high tech. It's just like, I want to try and fix things because that is kind of cool.
And at the moment that you're dealing with businesses that are, there's an unprecedented amount of new technology and sophistication coming through with AI. I'm getting, I'm aware of it. I use it to put the podcast on, but I'm skin deep in where I'm going with it. I'm guessing most businesses that you're talking to at the moment are just like, where do we even start?
Completely overwhelmed. It's a bit like, if you're old enough to remember the start of the internet, it's like going back to 1996 and saying, right, teach me the internet, everything it is, everything that it will be, every aspect of it. It's impossible. AI is this kind of big overarching umbrella for lots of different applications. So everyone's obsessed with tools. What tools are you using? What tools should I be using? What tool can do this and what tool can do that? And I think that's completely the wrong way of going about it. You don't go into your garden shed and start selecting tools before you know what project you're working on. And the same rules apply. Like, what do you want to fix? Let's start with that.
You say that there are a lot of us men out there that do
That
just
do
go and
do
buy
that.
tools because they look cool, and then think, how can I actually use this? So
Yeah, yeah.
I think there probably are those kind of examples. So a typical business comes to you. They go, right, where do we start? What kind of questions do you ask them? How do you help them uncover the biggest wins?
Yeah, I think it's understanding their approach to AI. If you're a skeptic, it's going to be really hard to do anything. So if all you want to do is kind of talk about the ethics and the power dynamics and all of that kind of stuff, then you can just go round and round in circles. And so a lot of what I do is an element of kind of education, an element of helping people to see everything's on a spectrum. You don't have to change every aspect of your business to be able to get some value out of AI. And I think because things are moving really, really quickly, people just want to make a decision and move on. We're not in that world anymore. You have to constantly be innovating, constantly adapting, reviewing. Like you just got to be in this constant experimental loop. And that is a little bit annoying. It's exhausting. But I think once you accept that that's the world we're in, you just give yourself a little bit of a better time. So it's more about having a strategy for how you're going to approach new tools rather than being in chaos all the time.
Okay. So imagine I'm a small business owner in Bishop Stortford,
Yeah.
and there's lots of them out there that we've had on the show, that are doing great things in the community. How should they start approaching AI if they haven't already?
Yeah.
Where should they start?
So I've got a little thing that I get people to do, and it's really basic. Grab a piece of paper and a Sharpie pen, and you say, right, what are the biggest icks? What are the biggest icks in my life? What are the things where I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, those things that annoy you on a daily basis? Like, oh, I would get on with the proper work if only I didn't have to do that thing. That is a really powerful place to start. And often what people do is the other thing. They go, oh, what I'd really love to do, which is much more of a passion project, which is much more often about revenue, or it's about a specific project or a new tool or a new app they want to build. Like that stuff is nice. But if you can use an ick and solve that, then you don't have all of that negative energy and time wasted. So I say solve a big ick first, free up some time and some capacity, then do that website or that business that you always wanted to do, that kind of side hustle, that side project. Because if you start on the side project and you're still dealing with all the icks in your other thing, you're just in this vicious circle of not having enough capacity.
It's really interesting. I remember seeing a post. It's probably about a year ago now. Hopefully you'll remember it. There's something like I want AI to. It was when AI was purely around art. It was like I want AI to do my washing up for me, so I can do more art, not
Yeah,
do art for
the
me,
other
so
way
I still have
round.
to do the
Yeah,
washing up.
yeah. But
Um,
it's interesting. So I've got a 13-year-old, and we both hate washing up, right? And we've got a dishwasher and all of that kind of stuff. But actually, we've been using AI to help us both think through the process of keeping the house tidy, right? Because we're both ADHD, we both hate doing chores, and she doesn't know how to stack the dishwasher, right? It doesn't matter how many times I teach her, her brain forgets. And so we've used AI to really simplify the process and to create a little visual guide that's now laminated that sits next to the dishwasher. So AI is great at process. And so if you've got ADHD or you're just juggling lots of processes, sometimes it can just help to simplify, but also to visualize. I'm a bit of a visual thinker, a visual learner. And so if something is really complex, I switch off. And so I use AI a lot by saying, explain this to me like I'm 10. Break this down into 5 simple steps. Show me this as a document, as a diagram, as a checklist, because that is going to help me with the process. And it's often the processing of things that kind of exhausts our brains.
yeah, yeah. It's the overwhelm, which I think a lot of us feel, particularly because of the
Yeah,
amount of information and advice that
yeah,
we're given. How can we distill that into something that we can actually consume? I think Atul Gawande's Checklist Manifesto is a really good
love
book
love that book.
around that, and it focused around how doctors used to make loads of mistakes, but then when they actually turned it into a checklist,
Yeah,
it made it so much simpler. And if doctors are making mistakes, what are the rest of us
yeah.
gonna be doing? What are you working on at the moment, Julie? hopefully when this episode goes out, things won't have changed, in the next 24 hours or 48 hours. But what are you working on at the moment you're excited about?
So last year I set myself a really ridiculous target of writing 12 books in a year because why not? And AI has sped up my process. I've been writing books for about a decade and I'm always quite quick. So, before AI, I could write a book basically from like idea to #1 bestseller in a month, right? I would just get the idea, be completely hyper focused and just sit until it was done. And that would, fastest time about a month. Now I can pretty much do that process in 2 weekends. And so why wouldn't I write a book every month with all of the stuff that I've got in my brain about kind of practical applications of AI? So that's kind of what I'm doing. And then as I've wrote 3 of them, published them. They all went to #1 in the AI charts, which blew my brain because that category is normally all the tech bros from Silicon Valley. And I was like, actually, I'm onto something here. But in terms of kind of my consulting work, I'm not going to get booked for speaking gigs because I can help people with their washing up, and so I had to, in my mind, write a book that was a little bit more meaty. So I have written a book called You, Me and ChatGPT, and it's all about how as humans, if we're not careful, our expertise will be outsourced to robots. And so it's not kind of like a doom and gloom conspiracy book, but it does get you to stop and think, like, what is it that's unique about me and my 20 or 30 years experience that the world still needs? And, AI hasn't done anything. It hasn't lived a life. It hasn't got wisdom or nuance or, it doesn't really give a shit about anything. Whereas as humans, we still have empathy. We still have curiosity. We still have all these amazing values. So that book comes out tomorrow morning.
Oh,
So that is
fantastic
my
timing.
current project. Yeah.
Fantastic. And so it's called You, Me and ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But it's interesting because it's not a book about ChatGPT.
Okay.
But it's, the same way that we say, oh, go and Google something, even if we're not using
Yes.
Google as our
Yeah.
search engine. It's just become that kind of part of our vocabulary.
Yeah.
Everyone's using it.
Yeah. As you were talking there about the kind of learned part of the human experience there, the word that popped into my head was consequence. Like
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT has zero consequence to the advice that it gives.
Yep.
Because even if it gives you bad advice, you'll still go and ask it for
Yeah.
advice again,
Yeah.
won't you? Whereas if
And no,
you and I gave advice to someone that wasn't any good, they wouldn't come back and say, "You got that completely wrong. You completely misunderstood that. But can you help me about this kind of thing over
yeah.
here?"
And the accountability of that, what
Mm.
we're seeing a lot of in the professional world is one professional is speaking to another professional using AI. And so the AI says this to one person, the other AI assistant says this to the other person. Decisions are being made, but not by the individuals, by the language in those emails or texts or whatever. And so if one of those AIs get it wrong, who's responsible? Well, it wasn't me. I didn't write that email. My AI assistant did.
Yeah. Although
That's problematic.
there have been some big cases, aren't there, in Australia? Was it what was the name of the company? It was a Big Four consultancy. I'm going to edit this if this is wrong, but if this is right, brilliant memory. I think it was Deloitte
Right.
that had advised to the Australian government, and they were charging them a few million quid for this
Yeah.
Australian dollars for a report, and it was then obviously
Yeah.
ChatGPT'd, and they're like, well, why are we paying you to do this? And there
Yeah.
was consequence on the humans for having done that.
Mm.
People used to say you never got sacked for using IBM or hiring from Oxbridge because it's kind of there's an associated level of excellence that kind of
Mm.
comes with that. And if you chose to go with them, then that's fine. But if you've chosen to use ChatGPT, you need a massive asterisk at the moment next to any
Yeah.
kind of work that you do and just say, like, I've applied my expertise to this. However, whatever
Yeah.
might
I think
come
it's
of it.
about transparency, and we are going to get
Mm.
to that point where it's going to be so difficult to decipher where AI has played a role because it lives in almost every other application now. It lives within Word, it lives within YouTube. They are everywhere. They are these tools. At the moment, you can spot AI text, but if you train it really well, you can't. and then I think it comes down to ethics. It comes down to that bigger piece.
Yeah.
What do I care about? What are my values? And trust is going to be currency. Can I really trust you and your expertise, or are you sourcing it from somewhere else where I don't know really where that's coming from, and whether I can trust it or not?
How can you lean into trust there? How can people differentiate themselves?
I think there's something around kind of hybrid ways of working. So, I've always run kind of as long as I could. I've always done kind of online programs, always with an offline element,
Mm.
because that offline is really important. If I'm just going to sit in my office and make £1 million and never have to look somebody in their eye, that means if I behave really badly, I can avoid that. Whereas if you're going to see me at Park Run, or you're going to see me down the high street, or you're going to see me at that awards event, then that holds my behaviour to account. But I also think it builds community, and it builds a shared experience of people going, I'm part of that. I'm part of that movement. Like, I think, I did a master's in multimedia 20 odd years ago. I think it was about 25 years ago. And social media wasn't a thing then. If you look at what Facebook groups have done in terms of bringing not only kind of global audiences together, but localized ones, people say, oh, Facebook is dead. The Bishop Stortford community groups are not dead. Like localized Facebook groups are thriving. They're brilliant for businesses. They're brilliant for lonely people. There's so much good that comes out of online communities. And I really hope that we never lose that online offline element. Some of my best friends are people that I met during the pandemic when we were in a little square box, kind of laughing at each other on Zoom, and but it's the offline bit that layers up that trust.
So do you think that will be the differentiator, the people that use AI to deliver and work and interact with people, but then they can follow up in person with people face to face, pressing the flesh, that kind of essentially quite old school way of doing
Yeah,
business, so that you actually have to be strong in both camps to
yeah,
to survive.
yeah, yeah. And I think what that means is, and I'm making some assumptions here, but younger generations, they've lived through the pandemic. Many people in the workforce don't like being in the office. They don't like other people. They would much prefer to work from home and be behind a screen, right? And so that gives, I think, people that are people more of an opportunity to build that trust. Because
Interesting.
sometimes when you've got to face a group of people in a room that are not happy with you, you learn a certain skill set. It's very easy just to mute people and turn your screen off and never have to see those people again. But when you're going into an office, or you're going into a space and you're going to be held to account, somehow that feels different.
Interesting. There might be some new terminology that comes through to describe that kind of worker in the
Mm.
future. That's really, really interesting. Julie, if people are interested in kind of tapping into your brain, understanding about the work you're doing, following along on the 12 books that you've got coming out, what's the best way for people to interact with you online?
I'm really easy to find online. There are not many Julie Creffields. So good old Google will send you either to my LinkedIn or my website, or some obscure article, from 20 years ago. I think Google's a really good reflection of all the stuff that I've done. Just don't scroll too far into my past, because there are some weird things there.
Fantastic. Okay, well, as well as that, we'll put links to your website, and hopefully, I'm guessing Amazon for your new book,
Yep. Yep.
as well, so we can put links up to that so people can follow along and
Amazing.
check those out for you, Julie. Are you ready for some Stortford Spotlight questions?
I am indeed.
You are? Excellent. These are 3 super fast questions that we ask every guest that comes onto the Bishop Stortford Community podcast. First question. This is a bit old school now. If you could put one sentence on a billboard in Jackson Square, what would it say, and who needs to hear it the most?
Oh, man. It's always about kindness. Let's all just be a bit kinder.
All be a bit kinder?
Yeah,
Yeah? Okay.
everyone.
Okay.
Yep.
No problems. We can lean into that. Number 2, question 2. Where do you go in Stortford that you secretly hope never gets too popular?
Um, God, there are so many cool places. I don't know. Everywhere's popular. I mean, that's the thing. You know, everywhere is well used because if it's not, it closes down. Um, yeah. God,
So
these are hard.
yeah, that's the
Yeah,
point.
these
That's the
are
point.
hard.
So where do you think in Stortford needs to become more popular? Because you want to keep it, because it's precious.
Do you know what I think is precious? The museum in South Mills. You know, I pop in there quite often and it's never busy. It's never like overly busy, but it's so interesting. It's fascinating.
It really is. And Bishop Stortford as a town been around for so long. There is so much history.
Yeah.
Um, Hopefully more people know about it. We are trying to do an episode with the Bishop Stortford Museum and also
Mm,
the Bishop Stortford Historical Society as well, which have just
yeah.
invested in the blue plaques that are going
Yeah.
up, hopefully to shine a light on that and get more people interested in the history of Bishop Stortford. So, yeah, I think that's a good spot. Question 3. Who's doing something special in town that more people need to know about?
Between the Wines, which is a book club, and we meet once a month. And it doesn't matter if you've read the book or not, you can show up, and it happens at a different spot in Bishop Stortford every month. And I've only gone twice, I think, but I'm hooked. It's always interesting people. The books are a bit hit and miss. There's been books that I like and books I love reading. But yeah, it's just something amazing, no pressure. Um, yeah, just a really generous thing to do. I think it's been going for a couple of years as well. So yeah, between the wines.
Between the Wines, excellent. And again, an in-person group.
Yeah.
People meeting people, people interacting with people, and with books. Physical books.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. Interesting. We'll try and find those and get links to those in the show notes so people can follow up and maybe run into you at one of their groups. And also there'd be great future podcast guests as
For
well.
sure.
We'll definitely make that happen. Julie, again, what's your website URL so people can follow up and get involved with everything you're doing?
It's juliecreffield.com.
Wow, so easy. Brilliant. Julie, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us today on the
Amazing. Thanks
Bishop
for having
Stortford
me.
Community Podcast. Not a problem. If you've enjoyed this episode, the best way to support us and the show is to hit follow, leave a quick review on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or Amazon Music that we're on now. And if you can share it on your socials or with someone in town who's not on social media, show them the show. All our interviews are with local people that are doing great things in Bishop Stortford. And if you've got a local legend, someone else who's writing books and books and books that we should feature next on the show, drop their name in the show notes and I can reach out to them and invite them on to shine a light on the work that they're doing and just share it with the community. Again, Julie, thank you so much for joining us today on the Bishop Stortford Community Podcast.